At the lake house dinner, my uncle said, "We didn't set a spot. You've been distant." My brother laughed, "But thanks for the lease." That night, I froze the car and every family account. I always thought being the dependable one would eventually earn me respect, but it hasn't. My name is Owen. I'm 29 years old, and I live just outside Chicago in a small but tidy one-bedroom apartment. I work in cybersecurity for a mid-sized firm downtown. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. I like to think I'm good at what I do, catching vulnerabilities, keeping clients' data safe, but none of that seems to matter to my family. They still treat me like I'm the one who just got lucky with a job that pays the bills. The truth is, I've become their financial safety net. For years now, I've been quietly paying for things no one else could or would handle. I've covered my younger brother Aiden's community college tuition, kept the lights on in my parents' house more times than I can count, and even helped with the mortgage when my dad's consulting jobs dried up. And every time I thought maybe this would be the moment they'd thank me, all I got was silence. It's like they think the money just appears out of nowhere. This past year, though, was different. My dad's small business, a home repair and renovations company, hit rock bottom. He made some deal with a shady consultant who sold him on a so-called AI tool that promised to automate job scheduling and customer service. It was a disaster. They lost customers, the software overcharged clients, and the business lease was hanging by a thread. My mom called me in tears, saying if they lost the lease, they'd have to close for good. I didn't even think twice. I set up an auto payment to cover the lease every month, using my own account. I told myself I was helping them get back on their feet. But month after month, nothing changed. My dad never mentioned the money. My mom never said thank you. It was like they all just assumed it was my job to fix their mistakes. And yet, here I am again, trying to believe that maybe this time will be different. It's late December, and I'm getting ready to drive up to the family lake house for the annual New Year's gathering. The place used to feel magical when I was a kid. A small cabin on the edge of a frozen lake in Wisconsin where we'd light a fire, drink cocoa, and stay up late playing cards. But the last few years, it's felt like walking into a room where I'm both invisible and resented. I spent the past week picking out thoughtful gifts for everyone, hoping maybe they'd see that I care. A warm scarf for Mom, a signed baseball for Dad's collection, even a new set of headphones for Aiden, who I know will pretend they're not from me. As I wrap the last of the gifts, I catch myself thinking, maybe this year, they'll look me in the eye. Maybe they'll realize I've been holding everything together. I don't know why I keep hoping for that. Maybe I just don't want to believe I'm nothing more than a silent provider to the people I love most. The drive to the lake house took just under 3 hours, but it felt like 6. Snow was falling lightly, and the highway stretched ahead in long, quiet stretches, giving me way too much time to think. My car's backseat was loaded with gifts, neatly stacked and labeled, and a cooler with some snacks I'd picked up for the gathering. As I got closer, I tried to push down the knot in my stomach. This was supposed to be a happy thing, right? Family, holidays, laughter. When I finally turned down the long, icy driveway, I saw the cabin lit up, cars lined along the side like a parade. Music and laughter spilled out through the frosted windows. It already sounded like I'd missed half the party. I carried my gifts up the steps, my arms full, expecting at least someone to greet me. But when I stepped inside, the noise barely shifted. Aiden glanced up from the couch, where he was leaning back with a beer, smirked, and went right back to whatever joke his friends were telling. My mom didn't even look up from the kitchen. Dad was across the room, talking loudly with my Uncle Mitch, and didn't bother to wave. I stood there for a second, my boots melting snow onto the welcome mat, feeling like I'd just walked into a stranger's house. Finally, Uncle Mitch turned, his voice carrying over the music. "Didn't think you'd show up, Owen. You've been so detached lately." The words hit harder than I expected. Detached? I'd spent the past year keeping this family afloat, and that's what I got? I forced a polite smile and set my gifts down on the entry bench. "Yeah, I made it," I said. "Traffic wasn't too bad." Aiden snorted from the couch, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Hey, everyone, give it up for our MVP. The guy who single-handedly kept the business lease alive this year. Hero move, bro." I froze. My dad shifted uncomfortably, but he didn't say a word. No one did. They just chuckled like Aiden's jab was some kind of punchline. My face burned, but I swallowed the anger down. I wasn't about to give him the reaction he wanted. When I looked around the dining area, I noticed the table was full. Every chair taken, every plate set, every spot accounted for, except mine. Where should I sit?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. Mom didn't even look at me when she said, "There's a stool by the basement door. Food's in the basement fridge if you're hungry." I blinked, waiting for her to realize how ridiculous that sounded. But no one said anything. They just kept chatting and eating, like I wasn't even standing there. I carried the stool over and sat near the edge of the table, the metal legs squeaking against the floor. Nobody offered me food. Nobody asked about my job or my life. And as the pile of gifts near the tree got passed around, not a single one was for me. I had spent weeks picking out things for them, but when it came to me, there was nothing, not even a card. I smiled tightly, telling myself it didn't matter. But inside, I felt like I was disappearing. I lasted about 20 minutes at that table before I needed an excuse to get away. My stool wobbled every time I shifted my weight, and the metal dug into my legs. Conversations buzzed around me, but none of them included me. I tried to laugh when someone made a joke, but even that felt fake, like I was forcing my way into a space where I didn't belong. Finally, I stood up and mumbled something about checking my phone. No one stopped me. I grabbed my jacket and slipped downstairs to the basement, where the cold air hit my face like a relief. I sat on the steps, pretending to scroll through messages, even though there was nothing on my screen. My chest felt tight, like all the air had been sucked out of me. I thought about every payment I had made this year. Every lease installment for Dad's failing business. Every little loan to Aiden for his tuition. Every time Mom had called with some urgent bill. I had covered everything without a single complaint. And this is what I got in return: a plastic stool and leftover food waiting for me in a basement fridge. My phone buzzed. A text from a friend, wishing me a happy New Year's Eve. I almost laughed at the irony. It felt like everyone except my own family appreciated me. I stared at the message, debating whether I should just leave, when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Mom appeared, holding a glass of wine. "There you are," she said, her tone just shy of warm. "I was wondering why you've been so distant tonight." I forced a smile. "Just needed some air." She sat down next to me, not too close, but close enough to make me uncomfortable. "You know, we didn't know what to get you this year." "You've been so distant," she repeated, tilting her head like she was studying me. The way she said it, like I was the one who had pulled away, made something in me snap. I wasn't distant. I was exhausted. I had been carrying them for years, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice. And they hadn't. Not once. "You didn't have to get me anything," I said quietly. "But maybe a thank you once in a while would be nice." Mom blinked, like she didn't understand. "Thank you for what?" I laughed, but it was bitter and low. "For the lease. For the mortgage payments. For every time you called me because Dad's business was falling apart. I've been covering everything. You know that, right?" She frowned. "Owen, don't start this. We're family. We don't keep score." There it was. That word. Family. As if being family excused the fact that I was treated like an outsider at every single gathering. I stood up, my decision already made. "You're right," I said, my voice steady. "We don't keep score, but I'm done playing." I grabbed my coat, walked up the stairs without another word, and headed straight for my car. The cold wind hit my face, but it felt good, like I could finally breathe. When I got home, I opened my laptop. One by one, I started disabling things. The business credit card I had opened in my name for Dad, the grocery account Mom used, and even the shared SUV insurance plan. Every click felt like I was cutting a chain that had been holding me down. The first call came before I'd even had breakfast the next morning. My phone buzzed on the counter, Dad's name flashing across the screen. I let it ring out. A minute later, it rang again. Then again. By the fourth call, I silenced the phone and kept eating my cereal. Whatever they had to say, I already knew it wouldn't start with an apology. 15 minutes later, a text from Mom popped up. "Mom, why can't we fill the tank? Is there something wrong with the card?" I smirked, not out of spite, but from the sudden clarity of it all. For years, they hadn't even noticed how dependent they were on me. Now, they'd notice every missing convenience. I opened my laptop, crafted a new email from a backup account, and kept it simple. "All accounts tied to me have been closed or disabled. Attached, you'll find the receipts for the past year's lease payments I covered, along with the written agreement you both signed promising to pay me back. I will give you 5 business days to begin repayment, or I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action." I hit send, then shut the laptop like I was sealing a door that would never open again. The reply came faster than I expected. First, another text from Mom. "Mom, legal action? Owen, we're family. You don't mean this." Then Dad called again. I didn't answer. An hour later, Aiden's name lit up my screen. His text was less subtle. "Aiden, you're ruining everything over one bad dinner. Seriously? Grow up." I stared at his message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I could have fired back with a list of all the times I bailed him out, all the nights I stayed late at work to cover his tuition and his impulsive mistakes. But I didn't. I deleted the draft and put my phone face down. I didn't know them explanations anymore. By mid-afternoon, my inbox was full. Dad's tone had shifted from confusion to anger. Mom tried guilt. She even sent a voice message, her voice wavering as she said, "We've been through so much, Owen. You can't just abandon us like this." But I wasn't abandoning them. For the first time, I was taking care of myself. I made a pot of coffee, turned on some music, and let the storm rage outside my phone and computer. By dinner, I had blocked Aiden's number and filtered my parents' emails into a separate folder. If they wanted to see me as the bad guy, fine. At least they'd finally see me. The first apology came 2 days later. I saw Aunt Karen's name pop up on my phone and debated ignoring it. She almost never called me directly, unless someone in the family needed me to be reasonable. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Oh, and honey." Her voice was syrupy, way too sweet. "I heard about the misunderstanding at the lake house. It's the holidays. Can't we just move past this?" I took a breath, gripping the edge of my counter. "Aunt Karen, do you remember what you said to me when I arrived? That I looked tired and should go find food in the basement? Do you remember laughing when Aiden made that crack about me covering the lease?" She hesitated. "Oh, come on, you know Aiden jokes too much." "It wasn't a joke." I cut in, my voice flat. "I brought gifts for everyone. You all gave me a plastic stool and told me to help myself from the basement fridge. And now you want me to move past this." There was a pause, a soft exhale on the other end. "Well, I didn't mean it like that. We were all just caught up in the night. You know how families are." "Yeah," I said quietly. "I do." She tried again, her tone turning sharp around the edges. "Look, I'm just trying to keep the peace here. No one wants all this drama." "Peace without accountability isn't peace," I replied. "It's just ignoring the problem, and I'm done ignoring it. Owen, I have to go." My voice was calm but firm, and I ended the call before she could launch into another round of excuses. That night, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Karen or my parents. It was the shared SUV alert, a notification that it was parked in front of my parents' house. I opened the control app, stared at the remote lock button for a second, then pressed it. The app confirmed, vehicle locked, access disabled. A strange sense of relief washed over me. It wasn't about revenge. It was about drawing a line they couldn't cross anymore. I stood by the window with my coffee, watching the snow come down in the dark. My family might still think this was just about one bad dinner, but I knew better. This was years of being taken for granted boiling over. It was close to midnight when I heard the knock. At first, I thought I imagined it. The snow outside was coming down harder now, the streetlights casting pale halos through the swirling flakes. When the knock came again, sharper this time, I sighed and pulled on a hoodie before opening the door. Mom stood there, hunched against the cold. In her hands was a gift bag, one I recognized because I had bought it. The same bag I'd used to wrap Dad's leather gloves. She'd re-wrapped it with cheap tissue paper, like this was some kind of peace offering. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice soft but tight. She looked older than I remembered, the lines on her face deeper, her eyes puffy like she'd been crying. I stepped aside wordlessly and let her in. She set the bag on my counter and glanced around my apartment, like she was trying to take in the life I'd built for myself. I wanted to bring this back to you," she said, pushing the bag toward me. "Maybe I can't undo what happened at the lake house, but I can at least try to make things right." I looked at the bag, then at her. "Why are you really here, Mom?" She flinched a little, her hands curling together. I hate when we fight. We're a family, Owen. You've always been so generous, but lately, it's like you don't even want to be part of us anymore." I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. "Do you even like me, Mom? Or do you just like what I can give you?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She looked down at the floor, silent for a long moment. "That's not fair," she whispered. "Isn't it?" I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "You only call when you need something. You only notice me when I'm not paying for something you've come to rely on. When was the last time you asked how I was doing? When was the last time you just saw me?" She blinked back tears. "We've always been proud of you," she said weakly. "No," I interrupted. "You've been comfortable with me. Comfortable enough to let me carry everything without ever asking how much it costs me. You and Dad only see me when something's broken, when you need me to fix it, and I'm done being the repairman." The silence that followed felt heavy, like the air had thickened between us. She finally looked up, her face wet with tears. "I never wanted you to feel like this. I thought helping us made you happy." "It used to," I said quietly, "but it doesn't anymore. Not when I feel invisible." She stood there for a moment, clutching the strap of her purse like it was the only thing holding her together. "I don't know how to fix this," she said finally. "You can't," I said. "Not tonight." She nodded, as if she'd expected that answer. Without another word, she picked up her purse and headed for the door. I didn't stop her. The door closed softly behind her, and for a long moment, I just stood there, staring at the bag she'd left behind. It didn't feel like peace. It felt like a wound I'd finally stopped trying to bandage. 2 days after Mom's late-night visit, I woke to my phone buzzing nonstop. It was Aiden. "Dad's losing it," his voicemail said, his voice shaking. He hired a locksmith to break into the SUV. He's calling it his car. You need to get over here now before this blows up. For a second, I thought he was exaggerating. But when I pulled up to my parents' house an hour later, I saw the tow truck already parked out front. A man in a heavy coat was crouched by the SUV, working the door with tools while Dad stood nearby, arms crossed, barking orders. I parked across the street and walked over, my breath clouding in the freezing air. What the hell is this? I called out. Dad spun around, his face red with cold and anger. I'm taking back what's mine, he snapped. You think you can just lock us out of a car we've been using for years? That's low, Owen. Even for you. I stared at him. What's yours? That SUV is in my name. I pay for it, I insure it. You haven't put a single dollar toward it. He smirked. Doesn't matter. Family property is family property. You owe us for everything we've done for you. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity of his words hit me like a punch. What have you done for me, Dad? Seriously, what have you done besides treat me like a walking wallet? The locksmith hesitated, glancing between us. I pulled the title and insurance documents from my bag, holding them up. This is legal proof the car belongs to me. If you so much as touch it, I'll call the police. You wouldn't dare, Dad growled. Try me, I said, my voice steady. I'm done being your backup plan. Before he could answer, Aiden came rushing down the driveway, his phone in hand. Owen, you need to see this, he said, shoving the screen toward me. It was a series of messages between Mom and Aunt Karen. We need to figure out a way to take control of his accounts. Maybe power of attorney? Dad could handle it better. He's acting unstable. My stomach dropped. You're trying to take power of attorney from me? I asked, my voice low and dangerous. Dad shifted, but didn't deny it. You're making bad decisions. You're turning your back on your family. Someone has to step in. I took a slow breath, my anger crystallizing into something sharper. You had a year to fix your mess. A year while I quietly paid your lease and bills. But instead of owning up, you kept taking. Well, now it's my turn. I pulled a sealed envelope from my bag and held it out. This is a formal breach of contract notice. You have 30 days to start repayment for every lease payment I covered, or I'll take you to court. I'm done asking nicely. Dad's jaw tightened. You'd really drag your own family into court over money? I met his eyes. It's not just about money. It's about respect. And you gave me none. For a long moment, no one said a word. The cold wind cut between us, and even the locksmith stood frozen, unsure what to do. Finally, Dad muttered something under his breath and waved the guy off. The tow truck drove away. I turned and walked back to my car. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. This wasn't just a line in the sand anymore. It was war. The days following the showdown with Dad were eerily quiet at first, but I knew better than to believe the silence meant peace. It was just the eye of the storm. On the third morning, a string of texts came through while I was having coffee. Mom, we can't keep the house like this. The bank is calling. Why are you doing this to us? Dad, this isn't over. We'll figure something out with or without you. Aiden, you think you're proving a point, but you're just being cruel. All over a dinner? Pathetic. I didn't reply. Instead, I drafted another email, this one colder than the last. I attached the signed agreement where they had promised, in writing, to repay me for the lease payments I'd covered. I included a detailed invoice, line by line, month by month. My email ended simply. You have until February 1st to make arrangements. If I do not hear from you, I will pursue legal action without further notice. Within an hour, my phone lit up with calls. I ignored everyone. Let the facts do the talking for me. By the end of the week, the reality must have started sinking in. The lake house was put up for sale. Aiden's messages grew frantic, as if he was only just realizing I meant it. Aiden, so you're just gonna let them sell the house? The place we grew up in? You're seriously okay with this? I stared at the text for a moment before typing. Me. I didn't put them in this situation. They did. Don't twist it. He didn't respond. The SUV was the next thing to go. I scheduled it for sale with a dealership in the city, handling every detail myself. The day I handed over the keys, I felt lighter. It was like shedding another weight I'd been carrying for years, a weight no one had ever thanked me for. Meanwhile, the family group chat, the one Mom always spammed with pictures of Sunday dinners and vacation plans, went silent. For once, I didn't care. I muted it and never looked back. Weeks passed, and a few half-hearted apologies trickled in. Not real apologies, though. More like attempts to rewrite history. Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you. Can't we just start over? Aunt Karen, everyone says things they don't mean. Let's not make this bigger than it is. Not once did anyone say the one thing I needed to hear. You were right, and we were wrong to treat you like that. By the time February rolled around, I had stopped expecting anything from them. Instead, I found myself spending weekends with friends, real friends, who didn't see me as a wallet or a fallback plan. We had a small New Year's get-together, full of laughter and stupid card games, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I wasn't a provider. I wasn't invisible. I was just Owen. The snow was falling again, soft and steady, as I sat by the fireplace in my friend Caleb's cabin. The warmth of the flames mixed with the faint sound of laughter from the kitchen, where a few of us were finishing up dinner. I leaned back in the armchair, watching the fire crackle, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: peace. It wasn't the triumphant, fist-pumping kind of peace. It was quieter than that, like the calm you feel when you stop holding your breath and realize you don't need to anymore. I sipped my coffee, letting the quiet moment stretch. My phone sat on the coffee table, face down. I hadn't heard from my family in weeks. The last text from Mom had been a vague attempt at guilt. "I hope you're happy, Owen. You've broken this family apart." I never replied. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to explain myself, to defend my choices. I thought about all those years I spent chasing their approval, paying bills, covering debts, buying gifts I could barely afford, just hoping they'd see me. And every single time, I ended up feeling smaller, like I was just some background character in their lives. But sitting here now, I realized something that had taken me far too long to understand. I wasn't the problem. They were. Walking away hadn't been abandonment. It had been liberation. I got up and walked to the window, watching the snow drift down across the frozen lake outside. For a brief moment, I wondered if they were at the old lake house, trying to scrape together memories of holidays I'd paid for, but was never really part of. The thought didn't sting anymore. If anything, it felt like looking at a photograph from a past life, familiar, but no longer mine. Behind me, Caleb called out, "Hey, you in there, man? We're about to play cards." "Yeah," I said, smiling to myself as I turned away from the window. "I'm coming." As I sat back down at the table, surrounded by people who saw me for who I was, not for what I could provide, I felt that last bit of weight slide off my shoulders. I didn't miss them, not even a little.